Hello everyone, it's Amy and welcome back to the Never Ending Book Series. And so we already have our base completely made, and this is what it looks like. What I did once it was dry was I inked the edges of the whole thing, all four sides. So even when you get down into don't forget to do your center cracks, and just, you don't have to fold it backwards. Just go ahead and get your ink down in there. And then I have chosen papers that I thought would go together to put inside as my base layer. Now, the one thing that I did was these are just scrapbooking papers. It's not cardstock, and I would suggest not really to use cardstock. Possibly you might want to use cardstock on your cover and your back. You know, you might think that you need to do that. But there are already so many layers, and then we're putting more layers on here that you don't want it to get too thick. And so just to do this in a speedy manner, and again, you just edge around your edges, and then you can use whatever kind of glue you want. I'm going to just, to make it faster, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just use tape runner, because that will hold it nice. And I don't use this that often, but it does work very well. And so part of the reason I don't use it is because you can run through it quite fast, and then the cost is not super cheap. I got a little bit up over the edge there, I could see, so I want to fold that down under. And then I am just going to center this, and all I did was I cut my paper about 1/8 of an inch smaller than the size of my book. So you just go ahead, and we're just going to go through, and I'll put them on quickly, and you can see the colors that I chose to go with this. I do like to try and like make sure that my colors go together, which for me is kind of a hard thing, because my kids say I'm not good at putting colors together. They always used to sometimes say, "Are you going to wear that? It clashes." So, but I tried to choose colors. And then what I did was I looked through all of my papers and tried to choose a color that would go with each of the pages, or at the very least would not clash with any of them. So, and I'm just putting top and bottom, both sides, and then right down the center, just to go ahead and make sure that it's attached there well. Now you can do this with any kind of wet glue that you want to. You could do it with stick glue if you want to. You'd want to use a permanent stick glue. And the only reason I'm really using the tape runner at this point in time is just because it's faster, and we have a lot of pages to do here. And I would like to get all of these in while we're here together, so I don't want you to have to be here for an hour watching me glue the pages in. Otherwise, I would probably use either a permanent stick glue or tacky glue. So now, probably because this is paper, I would more than likely use a permanent stick glue, because it won't wrinkle my paper. Now, the one thing is that you can always, once you get it glued, then you can go ahead and put a piece of parchment between each of the pages. And then put it under a heavy book. So if you use tacky glue and you don't want it to get wrinkled, just put a piece of parchment in between each one, and then you can go ahead and stick it under a heavy book till it all dries, and that should work very nicely. So we're getting there, and like I said, this does take forever. Maybe I'll finish this one side and then flip to the second side and do that off camera. We'll just see how it goes here. And when you use these tape runners, because I always had a problem when I first started, and I noticed I just did it right there. I'm going to show you on the next page. Because when I first started with it, I thought either it was broken or it was just really yucky to use. But when you use the tape runner, it has a trigger here. This lets it roll or stops it from rolling. So when you push it, it will roll. So you hold the trigger, go to where you want to stop, let go of the trigger, and then pull away from the paper. That will snap your tape right there and stop it from making a mess. Otherwise, if you don't let go of the trigger and you try and pull it, and or you try and stop it and then lift up, your tape gets all bunchy. And well, that was great. Just throw it right off the table. Where were we? Right here. Here's the one I taped. Okay, and so that's the way to use the tape runners. If you have a hard time using it, or if you have one and you quit using it because you didn't think it worked right, that might be your problem. Is that you need to, is that the right, yes, that's the right spot. Is that you just pull your trigger, roll, let go, and pull. And pull the trigger, roll it, let go, and then pull. The biggest thing is remember to let go. If you don't let go, when you go to pull on that, and I don't want to do it because it'll make a mess, but if you don't let go of that trigger and you pull on it like this, that tape's just going to keep right on going because it's not going to break because you're holding the trigger down, allowing it to turn. So that is the best way to use those. And I've never really used too many of the small tape runners, so I don't know, you know, if they have any problems, or I don't even know if they have any little triggers or anything. But it's really about, even I think with the ones that I did use, kind of pulling away from your paper when you're done, not lifting up. Because even if you let go of the trigger, if you lift up, you're going to bring the tape right up with you and peel it right off your paper. And so this is the last set on this side of our book. And I am going to finish the series before I even publish the first video. That way I know that it's done. I actually started the first video probably at least 2 weeks ago before I even got to this point. So because, you know, things happen. And so when I have a series like this, I like to try and make sure the series is done before you see it. Again, remember that we wrote top at the top of our book on both sides so that we would know when we put our paper on which way was up, so that we wouldn't put it on upside down. A lot of papers don't make a difference, but if you have one that's got a picture on it, you definitely are going to want it to be at the top so that you're not flipping through and all of a sudden it comes out upside down. So I think I will just go ahead and finish these while we're here so that I don't have to put two parts together. And you can fast forward through this until you see me get to the end. This is really what we are doing today. And, you know, and then I'll just show you what it looks like when we've already got our structure done. And then once we get the start of our decorating done. And then we will, I'm guessing it'll probably take me 2 or 3 videos to finish the pages, and then you will go ahead and be able to see all of them in a row, and they will be put out one day at a time. I do one each day. That gives you time to do whatever that day's process is, because even this looks like it's fast, but it's not that fast because you have to decide on your papers. You can use your own handmade papers. You can make them all the same if you want to. But it took me quite a while to decide on these papers, going back and forth between the different papers that I had that were kind of in this color field. I had decided that I wanted green and I wanted blue. And then I thought purple. I think this one would look better this way. guess it really doesn't have an up or down. But, and I wanted just a touch of purple, but I was having a hard time. Then I found this one with the same color green in it that I'm putting in the book, and I really liked that one. And so I got lucky with this one, and then I found one with some flowers on it. And I'm not sure why I wanted purple. I just did. So for a while I was really liking purple a lot, but not really this lavender color. Well, I'm not sure whatever this is, but light color purple. I like the really deep dark purples. You know, the royal purples I really like. But for this one, I had just decided those were going to be my colors. And so then what I did was I just went through my scrapbooking papers. And what I have is I have a really thick book of scrapbooking paper that I bought when I first started doing any kind of paper crafting, which was, you know, just like maybe 4 years ago or so. You know, I wasn't a paper crafter to start with. Now see here, it got a little bunched up, so I'm going to take that off because that bunch of tape, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll it together and get a hold of it and then pull it away from the rest of the tape, and that'll get rid of it, because that little bit of messed up tape will show through your, it will leave a lump on your paper. So if you get a bump like that, then you want to make sure that you take it off. And you can always go through after you're done if you want to tape it down and you want it to be a little sturdier, and maybe put a little bit of glue around the edges. So, but you know, this book is not going to, the tape should hold it well, so long as it's like a permanent tape. It's not going to be really roughhoused with. We are going to put some pockets and things, but not a whole ton. We're not going to put heavy embellishments inside, because with the never-ending book, you want it to lay nice and flat. You know, you need it to go both ways, and you need it to close and lay flat like a book. So we're not going to make it an alligator mouth. And so, you know, these papers are not going to have a lot of stress on them, like some papers can if you put, you know, like heavy embellishments and lots of pockets and tags on the same page and that type of thing. This one looks better this way. And usually, you know, I don't know why this book, what I'm looking at is, I kind of like my plainer paper here, if I have one that's plain and one that's not, and then my patterned paper to the right, so that when someone flips it over, then the pictures are showing on the page on the right. I don't know why I have that thinking in my head, but I just do. And we only just have a couple left to go here. We're going to finish these last couple off, and then we'll just do a quick flip through and see how it looks. And hopefully it looks good. I did put my papers in where I could kind of flip and look at them, but they were just kind of in there, so I'd have to open them up. So it wasn't like flipping from that page to that page and really seeing it, you know, fast like that. And this was our front page of where we started. So we are done. So let's take a look. So here's our front page. So let's see if our papers do look nice together. So we're just going to flip through. And see, here again is where I put the flowers on the right. I liked that for our kind of center page, because that's what we have on our cover. Covers, I should say. So here we go. And I think that looks very nice. I like all of those pages next to each other. So now we have our structure done, and now we have our background papers done. So the next thing to do is to go ahead and decide where to put some pockets, where to put some stamping, what we're going to put in here to embellish it. Now remember, we're going to do it flat. From this point, you could have even gone off before this point and just done it yourself. But at this point, you can just go and do whatever you want. But just remember, usually I put maybe kind of some decoration on one side and a pocket on the other. Try and make one side flat, and even the one that you put the pocket in. You don't want big bulky pockets. You don't want like 4 or 5 thicknesses of paper folded over and over so that you have a whole bunch of pockets. That's too much bulk for this type of book because you want it to lay nice and flat. You want it to look, like a book when you look at it, instead of being, we just can't have this number, because even, if it's this number, well, then you go to lay it down and that just really doesn't look like a book. It's all, So remember, when we're going to decorate it, we're going to look for things that will be nice and flat and fit inside there, but still go ahead and give us a lot of interest. So the next one, I will be back, and maybe I can get enough together to do one whole side. I'm thinking maybe half a side and half a side, and then flip it over and do the other 2 halves. So maybe 4 more. We'll just see how fast we can do it. So, and one other thing, and I don't know if I said this or not, so I'm going to say it. Doing pockets, if you move on from this point yourself, don't use double-sided tape for pockets or for belly bands or any kind of tuck spot, because what happens is if you take and you put your pocket in here and you've got tape here and here, when you go and put your tag or whatever you're going to put in there, when it touches that tape, it's going to stick to it, because that tape never dries. It's not like glue. So whenever you're doing a tuck spot or a pocket or a belly band or anything like that that you're going to stick something into that you want to take back out again, don't use double-sided tape. Because you're going to slide it in there, and then you're going to go to pull it out, and it's going to be like, why won't it come out? Because it's stuck to that tape that was run there, even though there's a piece of paper over it, because the edge of that tape is still sticky when you stick that in there. So if you go out on your own and do that, don't use double-sided tape to do your pockets. But thank you very much for stopping by today. I really do appreciate it. Tomorrow we'll do some decorating. Thank you very much again, and I hope that you all have an outstanding day. Bye-bye.